I refuse to let people pretend that this is a nation of liberty any longer. I refuse to put allegiance to government before allegiance to God. Yesterday evening, I was out here at my studio, and a state trooper pulled in, and just to say hello. He'd seen me watching his traffic stop, and a lot of the police in this state recognize me because I've raised a lot of questions about accountability, marked cards, government accountability, things like that. And he was a cool cop. We had a nice conversation. That doesn't mean I rank him as a good cop just because we had a nice conversation. It doesn't mean he's honoring his oath and defending the Constitution, but we had a mutual respect. And so I thought that was a good thing. And I was standing here talking about it, and I pointed up to that flag there because the trooper had asked about it. And it's my tattered flag with its stars kind of broken and fractured, its threads not so united anymore, its color fading, hanging from that pole up there. A few people were offended, and they said, well, Gavin, you should replace that flag, and you should show respect with a fresh flag to the people who died for this country. And I got to thinking about that, because what I told that trooper, and why that flag is still there, it's not because it's hard to replace, it's because when I thought about replacing it, I realized that that tattered, torn, battered, and broken down, faded flag is what our country has become. We're not united, we don't have liberty, and we don't have law. And so while I certainly don't fault anybody for flying a fresh flag, I think more and more it's appropriate to leave up that battered flag, even to fly our flags upside down. There's little more offensive to those who died for liberty than to pretend that a bright and flashy, colorful flag makes our nation free. You see, nationalism, that fake patriotism of nationalism, where we say, look, the government says this is patriotism. Look, the flag is flying. Look, the uniforms. Look, the colors. Look, the parades. That false patriotism, that bravado that says, look, we're America and we're free. That's what destroys nations. You see, that flag right there is a little offensive to people because it's broken down, and it's battered, and it makes people think about the state of this country. And I want them to think. I want the state of this country to be offensive because the state of our country and our patriots in prison and the injustice, the terror from our government on the people of this nation and on the civilianry and on innocent people all over this world, it shocks the conscience. God hates it. He hates our sin. He hates our lies. He hates our false love and our false patriotism because he's love. And he gave us liberty and he gave us our rights. He hates it when men and judges pervert justice. And that's what we've done with this nation. So when you leave up that battered flag or when you fly her upside down, you're not dishonoring the people who stood up for liberty. You see, principled men, our allegiance is not to a government. Our allegiance is to God and to liberty. If I take that pledge, it's for the republic that that flag stands for the liberty that that flag stands for. Some people are so distraught at our nation that they won't even take the pledge anymore, and I understand that, and I don't condemn them for that. But that flag, what it represents is not this nation. What that flag represents doesn't exist anymore, friends. It's no longer here. And my hope is that one day, if people wake up, if they're willing to see that battered down flag and stop making a pretense that she still shines and glows and flutters in the breeze and represents the liberty of this nation, if people see that and become willing to stand up, then maybe one day that flag, in truth, will wave anew, fresh and bright and clean and representing liberty. And it may have a few less stars on it. And what's united may never be the same as it once was. But if we recognize, if we have to look at our broken down nation, our tattered and faded liberty, and understand that we have become evil and terror, and step up and love our neighbor and defend the liberty of our children, maybe God will have mercy on us and we'll find liberty once again.